Lazy engines. Thomas the tank engine was fed up. Every day he had to fetch Gordon's coaches before his first run on his branch line. "Hurry up, slow coach," Gordon said rudely. This made Thomas cross. "Why can't you fetch your own coaches?" he said. "You're lazy and slack. You know important tender engines like me don't fetch their own coaches or shunt. It's a job for silly little common tank engines like you." And Gordon puffed away. "Big blue show off," puffed Thomas. Percy was fed up too. He was always arranging James's trucks. "Come on, Pouncy Puffer," said James crossly. "I'll be late with my goods train if we keep dragging your wheels of yours." "I'm fed up with doing this job for you," complained Percy. "It's your job," said James. "It's your job to shunt these trucks and fetch my trains." And James went round to collect his train. Even Edward was fed up. He had to shunt for Emily. "Get on with it," Emily said rudely. "I can't be late with my train." "Stop bullying," Edward said. "Can't you see I'm trying to arrange these for you?" Toby and Duck had to fetch the twins' train for them. "We're going to be late," they said to Toby and Duck. This also made them cross. The engines woke next morning feeling exhausted. They left their sheds early to get on with their usual jobs. But the big engines, on the other hand, were feeling bright and cheerful. "Good thing we don't have to shunt," they said to each other. After a great deal of shunting, the engines rested on the siding. The Fat Controller came to see them. "Thomas and Percy, I need you to collect a train that's waiting at Elsbridge Station. It contains logs, slate and powder." "This sounds like dirty work," groaned Percy. "I'm afraid it does," said the Fat Controller. "Edward and Duck, I need you to fetch a train of dirty coal trucks from the quarry. And Toby, I need you to fetch some tar from Wayside Village Station." And the Fat Controller left. "It sounds like we're all doing dirty work," complained Duck. "Well, as soon as we get that job done, the better," agreed Thomas. When Toby collected the tar wagon from Wayside Village Station, Donald and Douglas were there. "Look at wee old Toby," teased Donald. "Look like he been via a sticky time," said Douglas. Toby ignored them and set off. Edward and Duck met James and Emily at a junction. "Keep away from us with those dirty trucks of yours," shouted James. "We can't help it," snapped Duck. "It needs to go to the big station," said Edward. "It's your job to shunt and haul dirty trucks," teased Emily. "We important tender engines don't get to do that sort of job." Then the signal changed green for Edward and Duck, and then they set off. Meanwhile, Thomas and Percy were at Elsbridge Station collecting their train. Thomas took the front and Percy buffered up from behind. When the two engines tried to leave, the train wouldn't move. The shunter had accidentally put the brakes on the trucks. "We need to hurry," said the two engines. Thomas pulled so hard that the coupling broke and white powder flew all over the place and even covered Thomas and Percy. It took a long time to clear up all the powder, and at long last, Thomas and Percy were ready to go. Thomas and Percy met Toby at a junction. "What happened to you two?" he asked. Thomas and Percy told him what had happened. Gordon arrived. Well, well," he laughed. "Have you been to the waste dump like common tank engines?" Thomas and Percy were cross, and then they set off. Thomas and Percy finally got to Wellsworth Station. Duck and Edward were surprised to see them covered in powder. Thomas and Percy told them what had happened. "Never mind," said Edward. "These things happen. We've all been doing dirty jobs today," said Duck. Later that day, Thomas, Percy, Edward, Duck and Toby came to Knapford Station. The other engines were there being cleaned. The Fat Controller was waiting for them too. "Today, you have all worked extra hard," the Fat Controller said. "You are all really useful engines. For your reward you will have well-earned rests, washdowns and even new coats of paint." Gordon, James, Emily, Donald and Douglas laughed at Thomas and Percy covered in powder. Then the Fat Controller turned to them crossly. "Now you can all shunt these dirty trucks." "Oh no," groaned the big engines. "It's not been such a bad old day after all," said Thomas. "It only proves to show that little engines can do big things."